The largest manhunt ever endeavored by the state of Minnesota is now over. And as a result, the only suspect in the assassination of Melissa Hortman and her husband has been captured. Vance Luther Boelter. I'm going to talk about a couple of different things here. One is I want to talk about how the federal government may take over this investigation and charges. I think we need to push back with everything we have against that. If this goes into a federal case, then Donald Trump will have the ability to pardon this MAGA maniac. Let's keep that in mind. The other thing is his wife over the weekend, Vance Luther Boelter's wife, was apprehended. Let's soften the language a little bit. She was detained by police for what ended up being hours, and in her possession were guns, or at least a gun, ammunition, cash, and passports. You know, normal things you take with you on your trip to the grocery store, right? And then the other thing I'm going to talk about is the fact that Republicans continue, after I did a video yesterday about this guy's Republican leanings, his Republican passions, his Republican loyalties, they're still trying to act like he's some kind of a radical leftist, some kind of a Marxist, as Mike Lee, the senator, United States Senator from Utah, is continuing to try to pawn off. First, let's talk about the federal charges and how dangerous that will be. Here's a headline from NPR. The suspect in the shooting of two Minnesota lawmakers has been captured and charged. Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension Superintendent Drew Evans told reporters on Sunday that Boelter had been charged with the Hortmans' murders as well as the shooting of the Hoffmans. And this is the problematic statement. He said the FBI and the United States Attorney's Office are reviewing whether to bring additional federal charges. Now, the only promising thing about that particular sentence is the word additional federal charges, meaning in addition to state charges. We do not want this solely in the purview of the federal government for the fact that Donald Trump cannot pardon state crimes. Only federal. We want Donald Trump as far away from this case as possible because as this trial that will, I believe, go forward, we're going to learn all kinds of stuff about the motivations of this individual. We're going to find all kinds of stuff out about the ideologies of this individual. We're going to find all kinds of things out about who he has associated. And Republicans aren't going to want that out there. We know that because they're already trying to paint this guy as a Marxist or a leftist or a liberal or a Democrat. If you read through the comments on a couple of my videos over the weekend, you'll see even your run-of-the-mill, no information, unwashed horde of the cult of Donald Trump are running with this narrative when the information is just overwhelming, including the words of his best friend, which I'll play for you in a little bit. Second, let's talk about his wife being detained by police. This is from the Daily Beast. Dem assassin's wife stopped with gun, cash, and passports. Police are hunting Vance Boelter after he allegedly shot and killed a top lawmaker and injured a senator in Minnesota. Going out on a limb there with that headline, Daily Beast. You're just straight up calling him a Dem assassin. No allegedly, no suspect. Yikes. The wife of a man suspected of killing a Democratic lawmaker and her husband was detained in a traffic stop after police discovered a weapon, ammunition, cash, and passports in the trunk of her car. Not in her purse, where, this is what I travel with. It was in the trunk of her car. Going on a trip, Jenny Boelter? Going somewhere, sister? Jenny Boelter was stopped by officers in Onamia, Minnesota, around 10 a.m. on Saturday, local news KTSP reported. Though it was not clear whether the check was a routine stop or a planned raid by law enforcement as part of efforts to track down murder suspect Vance Luther Boelter, aged 57. Jenny and 3 relatives with whom she was traveling were detained for 2 to 3 hours while police searched the car and asked questions. Seems like a problem, does it not? Don't know. We'll see. But the overarching element of this entire thing that is by certainly not surprising in any way whatsoever, but is still shocking, is the fact that Republicans continue to want to rewrite history. They want to refashion reality into something that suits them better, that makes them look better, that distances themselves from the almost 100% of political violence in this country being perpetrated by Republicans. The FBI, just a handful of years ago, said that the most current grave threat from a domestic terrorism standpoint comes from extreme right-wingers, like Vance Luther Boelter. Mike Lee tweeted this with a screenshot from the Ring camera of Boelter allegedly wearing the latex mask to conceal his identity. And he said this is what happened when Marxists don't get their way. Marxists. Again, all evidence to the contrary. All evidence to the contrary. Here's from the AP. Friends say Minnesota shooting suspect was deeply religious and conservative. I did a video yesterday playing snippets of his anti-LGBT screeds on stages behind pulpits in churches in Africa. Played quotes from his best friend since 4th grade and his roommate talking about his religiosity, about his adherence to conservative principles, about his love for Donald Trump. And the media caught up with him again yesterday, and he doubled down on this. He says, yes, he is not a Democrat. He is not a Democrat. He is a Republican. He would be embarrassed to be called a Democrat. What kind of news or podcast did he follow? He listened to InfoWars. Alex Jones, dangerous domestic terrorist and conspiracy theorist, Alex Jones. You know, like Democrats do, like liberals do, like Marxists do, Mike Lee. And he also said that he was a Trump supporter, voted for Trump, likes Trump, and also says he himself, David Carlson, the best friend, also likes Trump. So when you ask about any extremist or troubling things that he believed or listened to, and he says no, his word is not exactly reliable for the fact that Republicans don't think a lot of the radical shit that Donald Trump does is radical. Anyway, listen to this from CBS News, and then you decide whether you believe this guy is a Marxist or a leftist or even a run-of-the-mill Nancy Pelosi-style Democrat.
Can you talk about his politics a little bit? I know that you had some discussions. I just wanted to talk.
Well, everyone's calling him a Democrat. He's not a Democrat. He would be offended if people called him a Democrat. So, but he, because of this board thing he was on for Governor Walz, it wasn't to serve. He was just serving the community. But I can't believe a political issue would cause him to do such a thing.
Did he ever bring up the senator or the representative who were targeted?
Like I was saying, no, he never talked about those people. I didn't know those people. I didn't recognize their names.
Any politicians he mentioned?
Well, he mentioned Nancy Pelosi. He didn't like Jim Walz.
Tim Walz?
Didn't like Jim Biden. But
Tim Walz? What would you say about him?
well, I mean, nothing. It's just normal. Oh, I don't like this that Tim Walz did this. I don't like it that he did that.
Did he mention the protests that were planned for yesterday?
He never mentioned the protest.
What do
you make
Trump?
of everything that's happened here and the fact
Maybe
that
I mentioned it to him, but I don't think he mentioned anything about it.
What would you tell him?
I would tell him to surrender himself so he can be taken alive, because he's like my best friend, so I don't want him to be killed. I don't want him to kill anyone else, you know. So I think if I saw him, I could talk him down, but I don't know where he is.
And did he listen to any particular podcasts or TV shows or anything online that concerns you?
Well, you listen to InfoWars. InfoWars. But I kind of said, well, it's like 50% truth. And I kind of said, don't take everything what they say for granted. I wasn't a real truthful. I mean, they're on for some things, but some things are way off on.
Did he talk much about Trump? And what did he say, if so?
I was a Trump supporter. Voted for Trump. You like Trump? I like Trump. And,
So please, can we dispense with all of this nonsense? Let's follow this case with accuracy. Let's follow this case with an eye on reality, dealing with reality on the terms that reality sets, which is facts. The guy clearly was not a Democrat. It pains me to have to continue to beat the drum because beating back against disinformation and misinformation and lies and conspiracy should not be a full-time job, but in the age of Trump, it is. Again, in the following days, we're going to find out a lot more about this guy and what motivated him with his list of 70-plus people he wanted to assassinate. Ilhan Omar, Tim Walz. You know, any good Democrat wants those people dead, right? Come on, Mike Lee, stooge. Anyway, what do you think? I invite you to this conversation. You can call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. You can comment below. We can mix it up in the comments. That'll help the algorithm possibly push this content into new people's feeds, into their eyes, into their ears, and into their brains. Huh? See what I did there? Anyway, I love and appreciate you very much. If you find value in what I do and you want to help support this work, you want to help me produce these videos, make this content, for $2 a month, you could do just that. Click the join button below, become a channel member for $2. You go to my Patreon page, patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. All great ways to help support this work. You can even go to Dollemore.com and check out the merch we have there, or link off to the other shows associated with this work. Brittany Page's Page Perspective here on YouTube, or our podcast, I Doubt It Podcast. I love and appreciate you very much. I'll see you next time. Be genuine. Take care of one another.